Hey, 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 happy opening day. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by Monolith Board Games and their Mythic Battles role-playing games over on GameFound. Talk about that in just a moment. So, welcome aboard. Tonight is Tuesday, it's Wednesday, March 26th, 2026. Now, see, I got this all mixed up now. I'm like, all right, I got the sponsor right. I just rolled off the tongue. Tonight is Wednesday, March 25th, 2026. This is live stream 1304. All his numbers jumbling around my head. This is why you love this, right? Because it's live. Things get screwed up. So entertaining. So professional. This is really good YouTubing going on right now, isn't it? Anyway, welcome everybody. So, if you're not overly familiar with the show, as you can certainly tell, don't take things too seriously around here. That is for certain. We're definitely not engaged in rocket surgery. No doubt about that. So, what we do around here is talk about the latest in tabletop gaming news. We do skew very heavily into role-playing games. And then normally, I will chew the fat with chat discussing a topic. We do have a topic tonight. Every once in a while, might just do an AMA or just relax with folks hanging out in chat. But tonight, I am going to ponder what Luke Gygax, working on a Greyhawk book for Wizards of the Coast, might mean for Dungeons and Dragons. You might be surprised by what I think and what we discuss. But you'll have to stay tuned for that because we are going to dive on in and talk about some tabletop gaming news prior to that. Now, of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit gaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Also, when I'm discussing gaming news, if there's something that catches your eye, know that if you go to thegaminggang.com, there will be a news piece there, has links that you might want to check out. And then again, maybe you won't. I don't know. I'm not psychic. I can't tell what you want to do. So also keep in mind, because this is a live show, there is chat available. Now, you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least an hour before you can take part in chat. But if you check off that box and you want to say howdy, maybe you got a question, a comment, by all means, fire away. I will do my best to respond. First out the gate tonight is Keith Ulu. Semper Buffo's with us, as is Pete Strakulich, Chris Lundgren, W. Forge. Zarquan is also in the house, as is J-Man. And we might have the lovely and talented Miss Sarah D. lurking in the shadows as one of our chat moderators tonight. This might be the Madman's Gaming evening, so we might not be seeing him popping in. So it'll all be up to Miss Sarah D to keep everybody in line. And Chris Lundgren's cockatiel buddy is saying hello. Hello, buddy. Chris Lundgren says they're getting Japanese YouTube ads. Yeah, that's how I've got it set up now. We've got a really big audience out of Japan. I think they're 5th or 6th as far as our viewership nation-wise. In fact, last I peeked, and it's been probably a few weeks, Germany was number 2. Canada was number 3. I was surprised. I was like, wow, Germany number 2. I would have thought it'd have been probably Canada, but no, it's not. It is not. Let's see. Keith Lewis said they did their taxes tonight. They're getting a refund for the first time, and I don't know how long. Just think of all the games you can buy with that. No, don't let the family know. I'm kidding. Of course, make sure your significant other, if there is one, knows all about your game plan for buying stuff with your tax return. Chris Leonard says they're glad Wizards of the Coast is heading back to Greyhawk in 5.5. And yes, Miss Sarah D is with us tonight. Says, don't make her use the glitter, please. Had a rough day. They're nursing their injuries in a dark corner. Well, I hope your evening is far better than your day was. So sending good vibes your way, and they don't have to travel too far. Just a couple suburbs, right? So it'll help. Chris Leonard asks, anybody watching from Poland? RPGs are big there. When he and his wife went to visit their family, visit family last year. I don't know where it logs in. I have no idea. So I'm sure it's in the top 10. That would be my guess. So there is that. All righty. So tonight is the opening day. Well, I guess tonight's opening night for Major League Baseball. Tomorrow is opening day for at least the Chicago Cubs. Fingers crossed. Hey, all I ever care about is that my teams have a winning record. When you go as long here in Chicago, or I guess I should say Chicagoland area, you take what you can get. You know, being a Bears fan, Bulls fan, Blackhawks fan. Now, we had a great run for the Blackhawks. We really, really did. And, yeah. So, I mean, Connor Bedard's an excellent player, but a lot of hockey teams out there suck with just one star. Yeah, that's how it works. Anyway, I see Grim Shady 2, the Revengeinator, is joining us, so welcome aboard. Let's jump on into the news right after I talk about our sponsor, psych. Because currently up on GameFound and fully funded are the Mythic Battles role-playing games, both Pantheon and Ragnarok. And here's the lowdown from our sponsor, Monolith Board Games. 2 apocalypses, 1 lethal engine. Mythic Battles RPG brings the acclaimed board game universe to tabletop role-playing with 2 standalone core books. Pantheon, a Greek post-apocalypse, and Ragnarok, a Norse survival fantasy. Powered by a highly tactical player-facing system where the GM never rolls, you must manage your vital resources and survive the brutal death spiral to forge your legend. Fully written, beautifully illustrated, and shipping in less than a year. In Pantheon, the world is not as it was. Gone are the days of bright skies, full fields, and flashing blue oceans. And gone are the citadels of thought, commerce, and democracy. Gone are the times when gods walked among humanity, bringing with them their bounty, blessing, and divine presence. In Ragnarok, the cold of the northerly wind sweeps across the world. The crops wither and die. Brother fights brother, and the skies darken as the warring gods shatter the earth. Ragnarok approaches. And you are a champion of these gods, summoning your courage, Grip your sword with a fire in your eyes to serve your divinity until death and beyond. Welcome to the world of Mythic Battles role-playing games. Now, you can reserve a copy of either hardcover with PDF for a pledge of 55 euros. If you want to grab both of those in print, along with the PDFs and some big extras there, you can do so for a pledge of 115 euros through April 2nd. Expected fulfillment is this November. JD Soul says a Chris Chelios era, Jeremy Roenick. Actually, I go all the way back to the Dennis Savard era. The Dennis Savard, Steve Larmer, Troy Murray, who sadly just passed away. Yes, I go all the way back to that. What I'm talking about is the Jonathan Tays, the Patrick Kane, that, what was it? 3 Stanley Cups in 6 years? Yeah, that's the era I'm talking about. But yeah, I go way back. I go way back to when the Blackhawks they won the, what was it, 80, was it 81? I think it was like 81 that they won the President's Trophy for the most points in the league. And everybody thought, oh, this is it. This is it. They're gonna bring home the cup. Womp, 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 womp. They did not. And that was actually the only time that the Dennis Savard Blackhawks really challenged. I know my Chicago sports. I know sports pretty well all around. We'll talk a little bit about baseball between the news and our topic tonight, because if you enjoy computer games and you are a big baseball fan, I will point you in the direction of something you might want to check out. And Kathy Evans is joining us. Welcome aboard. All righty. So, once again, big thank you to our sponsor, Monolith Board Games. If you are curious about the Mythic Battles role-playing games, by all means, swing on over to GameFound. All right, let's jump on into the news, because yesterday, Free League Publishing announced that the Fractured Library and Other Tales from the Lost Horizon, a new adventure collection for Coriolis the Great Dark, is coming. Here's the scoop. Yes, that is a super long title for that book. Wait till you see the cover come back around again. You're like, wow. 3 perfect spheres emerge from the luminous clouds, clearly visible from the bridge. They're marvelous! Hermes, the art gazetteer, exclaims. We'll be the first to examine them. He turns to Gavoda, the algebraist. She doesn't look up, just mumbles something and scribbles in her notebook. The shuttle trembles and as the drive engages, and you dive into the colorful nebula, exhilaration mingling with unknown dread. The Fractured Library and Other Tales from the Lost Horizon contains 5 adventures for Coriolis the Great Dark. They are standalone and can be used by the Game Master anywhere in the charted sphere. The adventures set the explorers on different missions, from traveling to a secret library station to a forgotten moon where the void is filled with strange tones and wordless song. All adventures can be incorporated into the Flowers of Elgarab campaign. Yay! If you have not checked out my review, give it a peek. It is excellent. This book features the Fractured Library. Escort a mysterious cryopod to a secret research station where a catastrophic experiment has torn reality apart. The Octagon of Kuri. Help a mother find her estranged daughter in the sweltering jungles of Kuri. The Temple of Tomorrow. Investigate a towering ruin on a desolate moon before a rival gets there. Every time I say moon, I just want to say, that's no moon. The Halestro Troika. Safeguard a gazetteer and an algebraist. Investigating a builder monument in deep space. I guess that was our our fluff fiction to kick this off. And then we've also got the Singing Moon. Investigate why Resonance Station Kepra has stopped transmitting and recover its lost data cubes. You'll also find the Kumaranti, a new slipstream cruiser with background description, crew, and blueprint plans. Now, you can pre-order the hardcover with PDF. Currently, the price over at Free League Publishing's website is $41.61. So that leads me to believe that we're probably going to take a peek at an MSRP of $39.99, maybe $44.99. But you might want to pre-order from Free League Publishing because that way you will get the PDF. So there is that. So I have to be very honest. I don't know if, it used to be Free League Publishing had a brick and mortar presence so that if you bought it from certain stores, you got the PDF. I only get the books as review copies. So I can't tell you if you go and you buy this from, say, an online retailer, if you would get like a code for a PDF. I don't know. I can't tell you. I don't know. Stop bothering me. I just don't know. No, I really don't. So, all right. So Mark Huxwell and Darius Termina, both of them have stopped on into chat. Welcome aboard. On our next news piece, Roll for Combat has launched their latest Kickstarter. This was yesterday. This time out, it's for Battlezoo Eldamon Legends. Here's the latest. Add Pokemon-inspired gameplay to your 5e Dungeons & Dragons and Pathfinder games. Add 156 new Eldamon to your game. Add 39 new legendary Eldamon, each with their own backstory, history, rules, and adventure overview. Learn new elemental powers to train your perfect Eldamon or channel them with your elemental avatar. Add new elemental magic items attuned to each element for Eldamon trainers and elemental avatars alike. Discover new elemental lore and commentary from your fun guide to all things Eldamon, Professor Portobello. Hundreds of new free digital files, tokens, and more. Gotta befriend them all. But what are Eldamon? And how do you find, befriend, and evolve them exactly? Eldamon can be found anywhere in the world, as they are elemental spirits that live within the world itself. They can easily be inserted into any adventure or simply roll on one of the many tables to find them naturally in the world. Anyone can befriend an Eldamon, no matter their class, and add them as a cute pet. Each Eldamon has its own personality and traits, with no two being exactly the same. Transform your Eldamon into their battle form when they fight other Eldamon or combat monsters. Over time, and by listening to your Eldamon, evolve your Eldamon, how many times am I going to say Eldamon, into its final form and destroy those who oppose you. There is a short Kickstarter video for Battlezoo Eldamon Legends. So let's give it a peek.
No. I guess I could be a fighter again. No. A wizard. I've been a wizard. Farts to that idea. I just want to play something where I can be the very best, like no one ever was. Whew, I know. I'll throw this legally distinct creature obtainment orb. That's right, Eldamon lets you play as a custom creature trainer class in both Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition and Pathfinder 2e, featuring elemental monsters, custom rules and roll tables for finding and befriending them, even roleplay based level up for those horrible little adorable beasts. But this isn't even about that book. It already came out to rave review, and technically speaking is different than any other monster collecting intellectual property. After hundreds of hours of playtest, balancing, and critical success, Roll for Combat is making Eldamon Legends. I mean, we know what this is, but legally, it's different, right? Eldamon Legends is a new massive expansion to the original Battlezoo Eldamon, adding more content. You get a major expansion for each Eldamon element: air, darkness, death, earth, electricity, fire, force, ice, life, light, mind, water, and wood. Plus, you'll get detailed lore and stats for the 13 new one-of-a-kind legendary Eldamon. Add in over 100 new common, uncommon, and rare Eldamon, brand new elemental powers, new Eldamon-only gear. That's a lot of Eldamon. Gotta befriend them all.
But most importantly, my dog Toffee's in it. In real life, all he does is snuggle up in blankets and lick his own ass. But in Eldamon, he's a legendary creature of darkness who licks his own ass.
Head on over to eldamonlegends.com today so you can start collecting and befriending. Listen, they don't go in your pockets, so it's different. Monsters today.
Did you honestly think you were going to see a video today that talked about somebody's dog licking its own ass? I know I didn't until I decided to share that video. The Battlezoo Eldamon Legends Kickstarter funded in its first 10 minutes. Kind of surprised. It's a little slow for the folks over at Roll for Combat. Usually about 5 minutes or so. I don't know. Better sleep at the switch. What can I tell you? There are a variety of pledge levels. I'm not going to get into all of them. Just let me tell you, you can reserve a copy of the hardcover in the flavor of your choice, D&D or Pathfinder, with loads of PDFs and a custom set of dice for a $99 pledge through April 24th. Expected fulfillment on this begins in July. So let me explain. This is going to be another one of those monthly releases from Roll for Combat, as far as I understand. And every month you're going to get a new, like, Eldamon Legend release. I'm taking a guess. I think there's three or four each month. And then after a year, all of them will be collected in a hardcover. You get the hardcover. But I mean, there's also Battlezoo Eldamon, which is available. You may recall I reviewed Battlezoo Eldamon for 5e a couple of years ago, I think. And Steven and the gang over at Roll for Combat actually included a blurb from me, a review blurb. I was like, well, it doesn't say me. It says the gaming gang, but still, it's me. And they actually used the video too. So yes, nice to see a publisher out there who's, well, hey, you know what? Let's take advantage of a review video that was very, very positive. So there you have it. And let's see. And Darius said, to be honest, it kind of looks more like Digimon when you look close enough. Hey, no, they are Eldamon. Let's get this straight. I don't need any copyright infringement nonsense. I'm just sharing the news, man. Keithula asks, what are the ethics regarding keeping your pets in baseball-sized spheres? I don't know. I'll be the first to admit I know practically nothing about Pokemon and Digimon and any other Mon animes out there. I did not play Pokemon Go, or what, isn't that the one where you would walk all over the place trying to find them? Didn't get into that. Hey, I'm not knocking anybody if they enjoy that. I'm just saying, when Pokemon started to hit, I was way too old. All right. Bard the Bear Wolfson is with us. And yeah, they weren't expecting hearing about somebody's dog licking its butt, but it was funny. Boomerman Dan Webb is also with us. Grim Shady, too, asks, when the guy mentioned his dog's name, does dog toffee mean the same in the States as it does in the UK? I got to be honest, I think the dog's name is Toffee. I don't think it's what the dog would excrete. Just like, okay, real quick side note here. Anybody remember the weird ass commercial for, it was on YouTube. It popped up a couple of times. It was on when I was watching something, and it was for essentially a step that you put at the toilet so that, you know, the way you sit on the toilet changes, because naturally we're supposed to squat when we go to the bathroom. And they had this unicorn, this magic unicorn, and it was like pooping out ice cream. It was like, what the fuck? I was like, okay, all righty. Like, what the hell? Now, I was completely sober. I saw that. I was like, okay. Ravenclaw 74 is popping on in and says, hey, y'all, can't wait for the discussion. There you go, Squatty Potty. Thank you, Ravenclaw. Yeah, I think you're right. It was so weird. It was like a 2-minute, 3-minute video. I was like, okay. But it was a commercial that was, you know, it would play like a YouTube commercial. Just weird. Very, very strange. All right, moving right along. The second edition of the Scion role-playing game from Onyx Path Publishing is the subject of a new offer over at Bundle of Holding. And I've got the deets on the deal. Adventure. This all-new Scion second edition Origin Bundle brings you the 2024 second edition of, anybody want to take a wild guess? Yeah, you got it. Scion, the tabletop role-playing game from Onyx Path Publishing, about the children of gods discovering their birthright in the modern world. Here, myths and legends exist in the shadows, interfering and manipulating. Humanity exists in an uneasy balance with these forces, but for you, that veil has been rent, propelling you into a realm of rival gods, bound fate, and vast titans, born even before the gods. Steal fire from the heavens, shatter the gates of the underworld, and write your own legendary destiny. This 2024 edition of Scion refines Onyx Path's story path system with a dynamic approach that supports any power level. Begin your campaign as an uncertain mortal, a newly awakened hero, or even a potent demigod. Arm yourself with divine relics, fabled allies, and the powers gifted you by your divine parentage. If you enjoy the media mythology of the Wicked plus Divine, which is a comic from Image Comics, if you're not familiar with it, the awakening journey of Mage, the hero discovered, or the pantheon politics of Hades. I've not played Hades. I have heard it's pretty good. The modern fantasy games in this Scion second edition bundle are for you. For just $14.95, you'll get all the second edition titles in the Hero Collection, which has a retail value of $73 as DRM-free PDFs, including the complete Book 1, Origin, Book 2, Hero, along with the Player's Guide, Saints and Monsters, and 6 useful play aids, including the Jumpstart, A Light Extinguished, the Heroes for the World ready-made characters, the Origin Story Guide screen, and more. And if you pay more than the current threshold price of $30.36, which I gotta be honest has probably changed because I wrote this yesterday, you'll level up and also get the entire Demigod collection with 7 more titles worth an additional $72, including Book 3, Demigod, and the Demigod Companion, the Scenario Collection, Path to Apotheosis, The Rules Companion, Mysteries of the World, Titanomachy, a collection of threats, Mythical Denizens, a collection of antagonists, and the Demigod Story Guide screen. You can score these savings through April 13th. And I will say, this role-playing game is very well supported by Onyx Path Publishing. I gotta say, off the top of my head, I think this is their #1 supported role-playing game. I would say maybe in second place is Exalted, maybe. But yeah, every time I turn around, I'm sharing a news piece about something that's come out for Scion 2nd edition. And I kind of think that each of the books, like book 1, 2, and 3, I think they're up to 5 now. I think they're standalone. I'm not positive, but for some strange reason, I thought they're kind of standalone. Where if you want, if like you would use book 3 if the player characters are going to be demigod level. And if you just wanted them to be humans awakening to their newfound powers, you would be using book 1. Kind of cool. So yes, Ravenclaw points out Scion had a god book as well. Yeah, I think that's book 5. Maybe. Ravenclaw says, go to the Middle East. The toilets are holes in the ground. Holes in Dubai were stainless steel and could flush. I do know in Asia, the public toilets are holes in the ground. And they didn't look like they were stainless steel and could flush from what I've seen. I have not been to Asia, but I have watched some travel shows. So that, yes. Heathul points out, speaking of Pokemon Go, their partner was into that. I know my best friend Elliot was screwing around with that because I think he was doing it when we were at San Diego Comic-Con. And I was like, dude, seriously? Like, you know how much walking we're doing right now? It's like, well, it looks like there's one over by the 7-Eleven. I was like, oh, okay, all right. Hey, you know, whatever gives your life purpose, it's all good. Moving right along, landing in stores next month is the Planetfall supplement for the 5 Parsecs from Home miniatures game. And I've got the lowdown on Planetfall from Modiphius Entertainment. Prepare to embark on the grandest 5 Parsecs adventure yet as you make Planetfall on a world filled with wonders, terrors, and difficult challenges. Planetfall is a solo and co-op adventure game where you take the role of a crew of colonists, scientists, and explorers from the mighty unity of humankind, building a colony on an alien world packed full of long overgrown crashed starships and dangerous ancient ruins, while contending with mysterious and hostile life forms. You will have to direct your colony's expansion and research, as well as commanding your characters and troops in tactical miniatures combat. Over time, your colonists will gain experience and improve their combat abilities, while the R&D department adapts alien tech to upgrade your armories and perhaps even your very bodies. This game is playable with any miniatures you would like to use and requires only a small figure count per battle. Rules are compatible with characters brought over from 5 Parsecs from Home, Tactics, and Bug Hunt, allowing you to chain together the grandest space adventure you have ever experienced. Features easy combat rules, allowing a single player to handle action quickly, packed with random tables including artifacts, colony events, crises, and more. 14 mission types ranging from exploration to pitched battles to delves among alien ruins. Tactical enemies include pirates, renegades, outlaws, alien rangers, Kieran, I think probably pronounced Kieran, landing parties, converted recon teams, even hostile fellow colonists. Damn you, hostile fellow colonists! There's an in-depth research system with 13 scientific theories, 40 buildings, and 8 augmentations to unlock. As you explore, you will map out the world around your colony and create your own unique encounter tables, filled with bizarre and evolving table-generated life forms. Assailants specific to the Kensington Reach setting are included, including the Psionic, the Saurian Slin, and the ancient robot guardians, the Sleepers. Multiple epic endings are possible for your colony. The 200-page hardcover with PDF will carry an MSRP of $55 when it arrives in stores next month, or you can grab the PDF at DriveThruRPG right now for $25. Another system that I've heard really good things about. So 5 parsecs from home. There's also 5 leagues from the borderlands if you're aiming for more of a fantasy sort of setting. But hey, yeah, not too shabby. And it is miniatures agnostic, which means you can use whatever minis you want. All right. So DB asks, hello, and why are public toilets the topic of conversation? No judgment. Yeah, you missed out. You just missed out. It was a classic conversation taking place here on the Dispatch. And I'm not going to ruin it for those who were here early enough. I respect them too much that they took the time out to be here early so they could take part in that conversation. And I see the last true Michael is joining us once again. DB says 5 leagues is pretty cool. They're not big on solo games, but that and Iron Sworn are good. Let's move on to our final news piece because the latest quick delve has landed from Necrotic Gnome and Exalted Funeral for old school essentials. Here's the latest on Against the Horse Lord. A cruel warlord hoards horses and power at the edge of the wilds. His castle brims with treasure, terror, and twisted secrets. Can players infiltrate the Horse Lord's stronghold, overcome its treacherous occupants, and liberate the borderlands from this tyrant's reign? It's a quick delve adventure designed for 1 to 2 sessions of play, perfect for side quests, one-shots, and conventions. It's suitable for around 6 characters of 5th through 7th level. It's easily integrated into any campaign, and it is ready to play with minimal prep. That's not telling you no prep. It's telling you minimal prep. Also includes an unlabeled map for virtual tabletop use. The 20-page A5 size softcover zine with PDF carries an MSRP of $12 over at Exalted Funeral. If you want to grab just the PDF alone, you can do so over at DriveThruRPG for $4.99. And if you were watching last night, you know I am testing out the concept of doing a giveaway every night for those watching live and for those who are watching after the fact. And Against the Horse Lord is tonight's giveaway, so stay tuned. We're going to be talking about that in just a few moments. And I'm going to tell you who our winner is from last night's show. Pretty easy. Pretty easy. All right, so that is it for the news tonight. Of course, I mentioned DriveThruRPG a few times. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you're going to go stop by DriveThruRPG, Storyteller's Vault, Dungeon Masters Guild, Wargame Vault, any of the numerous One Bookshelf sites, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. And currently, our ad is a box ad. I think it's, I shouldn't say think, I know it's talks about old school RPGs. Doesn't matter if you're interested in OSR or not. If you click on that box and you happen to make a purchase, I get 5% of that sale. And All those commissions really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. If you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. If you are enjoying the video and you're watching live, be sure to give it a heart or whatever, thumbs up, whatever those are. And if you're watching on mobile or mobile, I always say mobile. I have heard some people say mobile, which is like, okay. Isn't that Alabama? You can hype it. You can hype the video. I don't know what it does for it, but it's something there, and you get little stars that kind of dazzle you for a second. Okay. It's like, all right. But if you like the video, if you dig the channel, if you find the Gaming Gang to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, there are a couple of other ways that you can support the outlet. First, by making a one-time donation by way of PayPal, such as recent donations from Daniel Webb and Lisa Watkins. Thank you kindly. Yes, hell, you can buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. Refreshing. And of course, you can become a monthly member of our Patreon. You'll find links in the show notes. Also down in those show notes, you're going to find an invite link to our Discord server. Absolutely free to sign up. Be sure to hang with the gang over on Discord. So I also like to give a nice big shout out to our Patreon members during our live streams. So tip of the cap to Cabal, Kevin R. Smith, Talzak, Sean O'Donnell, Herman Lutman, Gustavo Cavalho, Kevin King, GameCat, RPG Munch, Tier 2 DM, Pete Straklich, Dan Webb, Tessie Trekkie, Agile Monk, and The Madman. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's talk about the winner of last night's giveaway in PDF. And that was the Shadowfinder Player's Guide. I don't remember if it's titled Shadowfinder's Player's Guide or Shadowfinder Complete Player's Guide, but it is using Shadow Dark for a ton of player options from first edition Pathfinder. Yes, I should take a peek at it because I'm curious if it's standalone. I don't think it's standalone. I think you have to have the Shadow Dark core rules for it. Maybe not. I don't know. You know what? I bet you could probably get away with this Shadow Dark quick start rules. I would not be surprised at that. And of course, those are free. So the winner of the Shadowfinder Complete Player's Guide or Player's Guide is Demi Shadow 23. So all you got to do is contact Jeff McAleer at thegaminggang.com. And if you need to track that down, you can just go to thegaminggang.com. In the upper left corner, you'll see Contact Jeff. Pretty sure it says Contact Jeff. You'll get the email address right there. So email me from the email address, your Gmail address that's associated with your YouTube nickname, and I will give you a copy of the Shadowfinder Player's Guide or Player Guide. And last night, DB won, if I remember correctly. Very nice. So tonight, our giveaway is going to be the Quick Delve number 3 against the Horse Lord for Old School Essentials in PDF. So one is going to be given away to somebody watching live right now. And I will have another copy for people who are Daryl Erritz. Like, is this the Gaming Gang? Yes, sir. If you're looking to learn gang signs, you have come to the wrong website. I apologize. You can go to Gaming Gang here on YouTube, and you will find all the gang sign video knowledge that you need, or at least it used to be that way. And it was funny because it was probably even still like 4 years after I launched the channel, right, doing videos, that the gang member stuff still came up number 1. I came up number 2 if you did a search for gaming gang. And I was like, what? It's like, really? Are you kidding me? Kevin R. Smith says that Shadowfinder standalone, it restates the core rules at the beginning. Very nice. Sweet. W4 says, is it Mobile, Alabama? That's what I thought. Mobile. I don't know. I don't know. It's mobile. Is that a gas station? Isn't Mobile gas? I think they're still around, right? Or no, weren't they? Maybe Standard sucked them up. All right, we got a few people who popped on into chat. So let's say hello. Once again, Daryl Arrett was chiming in asking if this is the gaming gang. 245 Trioxin has also popped on in, as has Kevin R. Smith, who just cleared things up about Shadowfinder. Sweet. Very nice. Okay. So get ready. I'm gonna launch another trivia question at you. So first person to provide an answer, it is a 3-part answer. So it must all be typed on a single line before you submit it as your answer. Okay, no, okay, 1, 2, 3. No, all got to be on one line. I guess this is going to test people's speed at typing. First person to give me 3 worlds from fantasy literature that are not Lord of the Rings or Dungeons and Dragons is going to get the copy of the Old School Essentials Quick Delve number 3 against the Horse Lord. So once again, give me 3 fantasy literature worlds, not Lord of the Rings, not Dungeons and Dragons. All right. Dun, 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 dun. No, DB can't win again. I'm sorry. You just won last night. You can only win once per week. How's that? How's that sound? Does that sound fair? I think it does. All right. Okay. Well, either people are really slow typers or they're just like, I don't know. Shazama85 is also with us. Said, Mobile's now part of Exxon Mobil. That's right. Stevie said, I wanted to have a streak. Now they'll have to streak. Harry Potter's not a world. Laconic Lane is with us. I was going to say Elseworld. Oh, Daryl Arrett. Hyperborea, the Old World, the 7 Kingdoms. There you go. That is fair. Gotcha. Ravenclaw says Conan. That's no John Carter. Nope. It's got to be the world. So you could have been, as an example, you could have said Nawan. Lankmar would not have been correct because Lankmar is a city in Nawan. Could have said Sanctuary. Who's gonna jump in on that one? Tell me what that's from. You're not gonna win anything, but still. Okay. So Daryl is our winner. Daryl, once again, same rules. All you gotta do, email me from your email address. That's associated. God, man. English, Jeff. Come on. Associated with your YouTube account. So Kevin R. Smith said Shannara, the Westlands, Wheel of Time, and Rokugan. Rokugan's not really literature. I would have probably taken it if you were the first one. Zarquan says, not sure I can think of 3, but my favorite is the world Terry Goodkind created. What's it called? There you go, Gerald. Whoa, look at this. Double dip in here. Sanctuary's Thieves World. Yes, it is. And the first volume of Thieves World was made into an audiobook. Yes. Kevin's right. I need to take a sip of my soda. My mouth is like glue. Mario Dos Santos is with us. Welcome. I think this might be a first-time visit in chat. So welcome aboard. I'm trying to think what my favorite fantasy world would be. I'm trying to think. Damn. I really like Joe Abercrombie. So I would think like his First Law. I don't know. I'm trying to think if they ever give the name of the world. I don't know. JD Soul says Earthsea. Nice. All right. So there's the contest for this evening. Yes. Very cool. Very cool. Oh, I should also point out, I'll give another copy out to a commenter just at random on tonight's video. I will reveal the winner on tomorrow's show. I should also point out that I will do my best to do a giveaway tomorrow night as well. And then the person who is I guess we would say the Memorex winner, I will reveal on social media on Friday. So essentially how this works is you got to comment before the next show unless it's Thursday, and then you only have until Friday. So you got like 24 hours to take a shot. Let's see. Oh, other thing I should point out, I am probably not going to do shows next week. I will probably take my week off, which I like to do quarterly, and kind of catch up on some stuff. I also got to be honest. I'm kind of, I don't want to say getting burned out. That's not it. Getting bummed out. Just getting bummed out about, just like the videos that we had a year ago, pulling in 2,000 views, now pull in like 300. It's like, really? Like, seriously? Okay. It's like, all right. I don't know. Let's see. JD Soul says, Terry Pratchett's Discworld. Bard the Bear Wolfson, what are we going to do then? Well, you'll have review videos to check out. There will be some review videos. DB says, what? That's a crazy drop. Yeah, I know. That's how things have been going. Give you a great example. I reviewed the Player's Guide 2 for Tales of the Valiant. A year ago, that review would have pulled in probably 2,500 in the first week or so. Well, maybe about 2,000 in the first week. Now I think I'm barely at, 500? Jewel Rawl is with us. Welcome. I saw you had popped in earlier. Sorry I didn't say hello a few moments ago. Said views are down all around for some reason. Well, I'll tell you what. One of the things, and we will get to our topic. I'm not going to sit talking about this. Maybe we could talk about this tomorrow or whatever. But I can tell you right now that The videos aren't getting into people's feeds. So if any of you are like me, when I get on like YouTube and I watch a video and they'll show like the recommended videos and stuff, I have things where it's like no views, no joke. I am not kidding. Stuff that has no views, which are also things that I'm like, I have never shown any interest in that topic or that genre or whatever on YouTube. It's like, or it'd be like, you know, something streamed 8 hours ago and it's got 3 views and it's in my recommended videos and it's shit I have zero interest in. So my assumption would be that's happening to everybody. And I'm not trying to sit there and be like, oh, well, you know, screw these people, you know, trying to start new channels. No, not at all. I'm not saying that whatsoever. But it's sort of like, I could see if it's like, oh, hey, it's someone who's talking about like old school Renaissance games or something like that. And oh, it's only had 12 views. I might go be like, oh, hey, you know, maybe I'll take a peek at that if I have an opportunity. You already know I don't really watch much of competition. I don't really consider it competition. I don't really watch too much related to our hobby on YouTube. Just, yeah. It's like I'm working on this stuff all the time anyway. I get enough of it. So Kevin R. Smith says, yep, I heard a couple of creators complaining about reach, which I believe is the word for stuff being shown to people. Yeah, I think that's what they consider it as well. Tim Johnson's with us. Welcome aboard. So I've had this too. I had videos recommended with no views and were just people ranting or trying to talk about news in other countries. Kevin R. Smith says, I've had some low view videos turn up in my recommends, but it's all been stuff I'm at least tangentially interested in. Dark Stranger is popping on into chat. I believe might be a first-time visitor for us. Bubble Guppers is also popping on in. Also think that might be a first-time visit in chat. Was that Jack Packard from Red Letter Media? I don't know who that is or what that is. Shozama85 says, I see more people at the bar, but that could be various sports compared to last year. Nah, I don't. Doesn't have anything to do with that. Funny enough, should be fewer people at the bar because so many people are, you know, giving up drinking. And let's see, we've got Delaney Alusa or Delaney ALUSA says, just joining. Haven't been on for a while. Welcome. But yeah, and you know, I know how math works. So when I go take a look at the analytics and it's like, oh, this video is being shown to more people than usual. And it's got like a 2.5% click-through rate. That's like, oh, you know, don't worry about the click-through rates. This video is performing well or whatever, you know? So then I can take a look. Now, there are over 17,000 subscribers to this channel. I don't expect 17,000 people to watch a video. I don't expect anywhere close to that. But when it tells me that like 28% of the views from a video come from subscribers, I know damn well that video is not getting in front of people who subscribe to this channel. And I have seen it says 11% of subscribers have selected all notifications. So that would be about 1,800 people are notified on every video, supposedly. Don't know. Daryl Eric says it's just cheaper to drink at home. Yes, I get it. DB says, what? Give up drinking? Preposterous. Hey, I'm not telling you to give it up. I'm just saying, especially younger people. Younger people aren't, well, we won't even talk about the weird ways that they meet up. But no, I was told a few years ago, it's like, oh man, if you were in a bar and you bought a woman a drink, oh, you're in trouble. I'm like, well, okay. Like, all right, if you say so. Like, they'll treat you like you're a rapist. I'm like, okay. Guess I should just go online then. Anyway. So yeah, I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you that sort of like spinning your wheels on stuff here. I'll tell you who's still doing well, though, are the people who actually really hate this hobby. They pretend to like the hobby, but they actually hate it because all their videos are just them bitching about something normally related to Dungeons and Dragons. They're doing okay. Honestly, though, I bet you their numbers are down a little bit, too. All right. Kevin R. Smith says, even before they went to all notifications, they were getting a lot of the gaming gang stuff. I suspect it's because I would ignore recommends to seek out the Daily Dispatch live shows. I don't know. Kevin also points out rage bait sells. Yeah, we know. We're actually going to touch on that a little bit tonight. What, did I clickbait you folks into this video? No, we're going to talk about that too. In fact, we're going to jump on into our discussion because I've rambled on about this longer than I wanted to. But we are actually going to get into our discussion of, will Luke Gygax working on a Greyhawk supplement for Wizards of the Coast change anything about D&D? We'll discuss that and other things. But first, it's time for a brief intermission.
And now, intermission. Refreshment time.
At our refreshment stand, your wish is our command. So the coffee we serve there is pure perfection.
Uh-oh. Ketchup.
Oh! I wish somebody would invent a ketchup bottle that squirts where you aim it.
Mrs. Porter, I've got the next best thing. A new invention from Procter & Gamble. It absorbs like magic. It's called Bounty, the new paper towel that actually attracts moisture. Watch. See Bounty attracting, absorbing moisture. That's because it's more than just paper. It's made a unique new way from a special formula of 6 ingredients, spun into a wonderful new towel. Look again. Compare it to the leading towel. See how Bounty attracts, drinks, sucks up spills faster.
Sort of feels different, too, doesn't it?
Go ahead. Pop it.
Why, it even sounds strong.
No other towel is made like Bounty, in regular and jumbo size. Hurry, get new Bounty. It absorbs like magic.
Hey.
Yeah?
You like chow mein?
Uh-huh.
What kind?
The takeout kind.
You should try La Choy chow mein. It's crisp and crunchy, as good as the takeout kind.
Why?
Because it's quick cooked by me, the La Choy Dragon in Dragon Fire. Here, hold this.
Oh, boy, he's a hot salesman.
Years before man believed he could fly, Jules Verne wrote about a ship like this.
And this is our control center, the very heart of the Albatross. We have now reached a speed of 203 miles an hour, quite literally a ship of the sky.
Vincent Price, perfectly cast as the idealist who pictures himself master of the world. His unwilling guests are Charles Bronson, Henry Hull, Mary Webster, David Frankham. 4 people terrorized into desperate action. Sentenced to terrifying punishment.
I am a man unto myself, Mr. Prudent, who has declared war against war. That is the purpose for which this ship was built. You below, this is Robert speaking. Do exactly as I say. You have no choice.
I don't see that we can merely sit by and watch Rover decimate the entire world.
And what else can we do, Mr. Struck?
Destroy the Albatross.
And ourselves with it?
Moment by moment, you cross over new horizons with Master of the World.
London ahead, sir. Are the leaflets ready for dropping?
If you liked 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and Around the World in 80 Days, you'll love Master of the World. Who they get to do those special effects? Lenny Dykstra? It's kind of a deep cut there. All right. So before we jump on into our topic, Jubal says, I love listening to your videos. It helps with purchases, but I also like hearing about games I've never played. And that is the purpose of the website. A lot of folks out there, I'm sure you're hanging out in chat. You've never gone to thegaminggang.com. You should check it out. That is the big deal. Videos, this channel, it's just an offshoot. It really is. But yeah, I mean, that's the purpose. It's to share information about the hobby because I love this hobby. Now, are there some screwed up people who are part of it? Yeah. Sorry to say. But I do love it. DB says, AIP again, Jeff? I think you secretly love AIP. Well, you know, it's because their films don't usually set off copyright infringement notices. That goes a long way to me being able to include it into our intermissions. So there you have it. Laconic Lane says, if you've not seen The Baron of Arizona, I have not. I've never heard of it, actually. It's a Vincent Price deep cut that's worth the watch. Very nice. Very cool. I also noticed Danny W. Gable is with us. Good to see you again, Danny. All right. W. Ford says, despite it all, I'm still a Mets fan. Hey, you know, you got your team, right? Baseball's a little bit different than other sports. I think sports fans, they change their football affiliation, their basketball, their hockey affiliation, whatever, probably a bit more often or a bit easier than they do their baseball affiliation, because a lot of times their baseball affiliation as far as their fandom is handed down from their parents or grandparents even. All right, true. Ichiban is also joining us in chat. So tonight, the topic is, well, the topic of the thumbnail says, I believe it says, can Luke Gygax and Greyhawk save D&D? Now that's the thumbnail. The video is a little bit different, but still pretty close. So a lot of buzz past week or so after Wizards of the Coast announced that Luke Gygax was working on a supplement for Dungeons and Dragons. I'm sure he's not working on it alone. I'm sure there are many, many freelancers involved as well. And it is Melf's Guide to Greyhawk, if I remember correctly. So, of course, there have been people saying, oh, well, there you go. Right there, it shows that's a big change of direction for Wizards of the Coast and Dungeons and Dragons. Big change of direction. I don't personally think it's as big a change as people think it might be. Now, someone else had mentioned, it might have been Agile Monk last night, talking about the apology tour that the new CEO of Wizards of the Coast, the new guy who's in charge of D&D, whatever, was part of a press conference with Luke Gygax at GaryCon. Yeah, I go to GaryCon. Nobody gives a shit about press. I don't go to GaryCon, and then suddenly it's like, oh, we got press now. It's like, okay, thanks. So they were talking about the apology tour. Now, somebody sent me a link in an email today, and they said, hey, because I had said, yeah, I heard chirping about that. I didn't watch a video or anything, you know. They sent me this link and they said, oh, you should check out this video. And it was titled something about, you know, the apology tour. And it was some hater. I have no idea who this person is. And I watched about a minute and a half of it because in a minute and a half, they used the word woke 5 times. And then the term leftist Islamo-Marxist, not Islamo-fascist, Islamo-Marxist came out, and I was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm like, blink, I'm done. I'm finished. I'm finished with that. Now, I'm not saying that people talk about the, you know, oh, well, D&D went woke, they went broke. I'll tell you what, I guarantee you every other role-playing game publisher out there would like to be as broke as Wizards of the Coast got because they went woke. Anyway, I'm not saying that people out there who would say, oh, D&D went woke, do not have valid criticisms about Dungeons and Dragons and Wizards of the Coast. But I'll tell you what, when you just toss the word woke out there, and especially 5 times in 90 seconds, it's like, okay, so regardless of what your critique, your criticism might be, I can't take you seriously. That'd be like me sitting there and saying, well, you know what? I can't stand this publisher. And somebody says, well, how come, Jeff? I said, well, because, you know, they're all stupid heads. Stupid heads? What do you mean? Well, because they act like stupid heads. Well, Jeff, what do you mean by stupid heads? I mean stupid heads. That tells you nothing. And to me, when people just throw the word woke out there, same thing. Same thing. Number one, a vast majority of the people who throw that out there do not know what the term actually really means. But regardless, like I said, I'm not telling them that they don't have, you know, if they have a legitimate beef, then use your big boy words and tell us what it is. And I get it. There are a lot of things that I personally am not too keen on with Dungeons and Dragons and the direction that Wizards of the Coast has gone with it. But I pointed this out last week. I also realize that I am no longer the audience for Dungeons and Dragons. Wizards of the Coast is cool if I, you know, hey, you want to review this stuff? Okay, fantastic. But they are not going out of their way to create content that's going to appeal to me because I'm not their audience anymore. And this is the same thing with all corporations. We'll get back to that. So let's talk about Luke Gygax. And I've met Luke twice. I've talked to him maybe a grand total of 10 minutes. Once when I was in line with Elliot to get our passes for, I think it was Founders and Legends, the first one. And then I want to say it was at Gary Con, one of the, either or. He finished up running a game and he was kind of packing his stuff up and our game had just finished up. So I walked over because we had gotten passes by way of Trollord Games. And so I wanted to go over and I just talked to him for a few minutes. He was very nice. Big guy. Somebody else had pointed out they just saw him at another convention and he's a big guy. It's like, yeah, he could beat the shit out of me like that. Now, I'm not a little dude, but yeah. Well, like I said, he seemed like a nice guy. I kind of have the feeling that he's becoming more and more comfortable with essentially taking on the legacy of his dad. I think early on, and once again, I don't know for certain, this is just the vibe I've gotten. I think early on, Gary Con was just sort of a, hey, let's put together this convention for fans of, old D&D, and we'll all get together, have a good time, and just show up. I think nowadays, especially since his brother passed, I think Luke Gygax is taking on more responsibility regarding his dad's legacy. So I think part of it with Wizards of the Coast, having him working on the Greyhawk book is, on some levels, Wizards of the Coast trying to bury the hatchet with the Gygax family. Because maybe their intent wasn't necessarily to denigrate the original creators of Dungeons and Dragons during the 50th, 30th, during the 50th anniversary, which was so poorly handled by Wizards of the Coast. Man, they could have done some really special things, and they did not. Like I said, I have criticisms of Wizards of the Coast and Dungeons and Dragons as well, but I will tell you what they are. I do not try to make a political statement, because reality is that's what most of these cranks are trying to do. They're like, well, the Manosphere is doing pretty well. Tucker Carlson's pulling in views, so what if I'm the Tucker Carlson of Dungeons and Dragons? It's like, yeah, okay. It's like, whatever. Kevin R. Smith points out that Luke is a military veteran. Yes. And he looks incredibly in shape every time I see him in a video. I also believe he has kind of like a gamer's health regimen, something like that. So, the lady Alyssa says, woke simply means I have an IQ of a wisp of air. Tim Johnson says, woke isn't criticism, it's a catch-all dog whistle. Wizards of the Coast needs a lot of help, but if you start throwing that one around, that noise, I tend to tune out immediately. Exactly. I'm right with you on that. Where it's like, if you want to sit there and you want to bitch and moan, because let's also point out, people like to use the word, and I will see, or at least over the years, I've seen people in videos will refer to themselves, and they're talking about role-playing games, but they'll say, you know, that they're a grognard, which is not the pronunciation of the word. And they also don't know the definition of the word. So many of these people think a grognard is a veteran of all these different wars. Well, to my knowledge, the term actually originates during the Napoleonic era, and it is a veteran soldier, but it is also supposed to be a veteran soldier who does nothing but bitch and complain. They're a griper. Is what it is. That's what a grognard is. They are a whiner, a bitcher, a complainer. Nothing's ever good enough for them. That's why I'm really surprised that that word actually, and it's wargamers who have utilized it. In fact, it's Napoleonic miniatures wargamers who have brought that term into the gamer lexicon, I guess we'll say, which I guess I could kind of understand that. But it is suddenly, you know, these people think, oh yeah, it's a badge of, it's a red badge of courage. No, actually it's not. It's a derogatory term. That's why you don't hear me claim to be one. Right, exactly. JD Sewell points out it's the old guard who earned the right to complain. Actually, even the young guard was considered to, because the young guard wasn't just like young kids. It was just another group of soldiers that were not as elite as the old guard. Next Apocalypse is with us, says, Friar Tucker Carlson. It's a level 5 monk. I'm not here to like rip on people because that's not my thing, man. I don't do hit pieces. Yeah, you know, if I get an issue with somebody, I'll tell you. And then, you know, I don't sit there like, man, I would kill this. No, not at all. But getting back to Luke Gygax working on Greyhawk for Wizards of the Coast, it's not going to change anything. Not at all. In fact, I will tell you, my prediction here is that it will have a little bit of an old school feel to it, but it will still be 5.5 Dungeons and Dragons. If you take a peek at Luke Gygax's company, Gaxworks, there are, I want to say, 3 published adventures. And then there is the box adventure that is that kickstarted from GUI Cube. And I'll tell you right now, GUI Cube is 5e to its core. And I'm taking a guess that the Melf's Guide to Greyhawk is not going to be trying to turn back the clock on Dungeons and Dragons. So I had seen people on social media talking about, hey, this is Wizards of the Coast admitting defeat. Once again, they went woke, they went broke. Yeah, they're real broke. Now, did they sell the sort of number of units that they would like to? Of course not. Have they ever sold as many units as they would like to? Probably not. Even in the heyday, right? When all these people were watching Critical Role and they were like, Dungeons and Dragons, what is, yeah, that sounds pretty cool. I've heard of that. Let's go pick it up, kids. I'm sure the bean counters at Hasbro were like, not enough. Not enough for our shareholders. Sell, sell, sell. Delaney Alyssa says Luke's older brother almost doubly ruined the name Gygax with the stuff he pulled. I don't know the particulars with that. I didn't take a peek at Top Secret because I had heard through the grapevine, it was like, oh man. I don't know if it was a situation with how much Ernie Gygax was involved in that. Like I said, I don't know. So I'm one of these people where if I hear rumors of something, yeah, I'll say, yeah, rumors. And I will tell you, hey, it's a rumor. I can't confirm this, but I have heard this, just like I'm talking about how, people out there are saying, well, it's Wizards of the Coast throwing their hands up in defeat. Oh. No, it is not. I think Wizards of the Coast is trying to make a concession to old-time gamers out there, but they're not going to sit there and be like, okay, well, Dungeons and Dragons 6th edition, which obviously they're working on. They started working on that when 5th edition, 5.5, I should say, was rolling out the door. Because I kind of get the feeling that 5.5 is kind of a stopgap more than anything else. I thought it was fine. I reviewed the core books for it. I'm like, it's all right. It's okay. But I think it's more cosmetic. I think it's more of a PR move than anything else. Because Luke Gygax is really the only Gygax left that they would have, brought on board. And now I know Gary Gygax didn't he have 2 daughters? I've met Heidi. In fact, I met her at Page. She was very nice. But outside of, I think it's Heidi Gygax Garland. I think that might be her married name now. Her and her husband doing like a new convention. I don't think she's doing any creative stuff. Whereas at least with Luke has, written adventures and stuff like that. But Max Apocalypse says Luke with Wizards of the Coast publicity stunt that will maybe result in a good book or 2. Not a big deal. Yeah, that's kind of, like I said, I don't necessarily want to say it was only done as a publicity stunt. I think at its core, it's more of Wizards of the Coast trying to make an apology to the Gygax family because of the way they kind of pissed on the original creators of Dungeons and Dragons. I don't think Wizards of the Coast was, like just insanely insulting to Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson as other people think. I didn't read that. But I also don't think that they gave the credit where credit was due. And I think it was probably more along the lines of Wizards of the Coast wanting to focus on, hey, this is how great Dungeons and Dragons is since we bought it. That is a possibility. Okay, so Kevin R. Smith says they didn't do Top Secret. They did the god awful attempted Star Frontiers reboot. I thought they did Top Secret New World Order or something along those lines. Because didn't they have the like the African American attribute, like negative modifiers? Was that it? So some talk about Joseph Block. He would never work with Wizards of the Coast. Hey, I am working on, Adventures Dark and Deep. So I will have a review. This is the best year. I got the core book over my shoulder here. Damn, man. Big books. These are really big books. Very interesting so far. I can't say I, know if it's, what Gary Gygax would have made second edition AD&D, but man, it's pretty cool. It's very interesting. I'll tell you right now, it's probably way too crunchy for me at this point in my gaming life, but that is not meant to like steer anybody away from it. You gotta wait. Within the next 2 weeks, I'll have that review. Hey, maybe next week when I take my break. So Char as a Noble is with us again. It's been a while since we've seen Char. I should say it's Char. Says Heidi's really nice. And also says Joseph has a great channel too. He does really nice deep dives without taking up like 2 hours into a lot of the classic TSR stuff. Captain Stefan is joining us. Welcome aboard. I don't recognize that nickname, so it might be a first-time visit. Daryl says that book's going to tear your rotator cuff. So Kevin R. Smith says it was their Star Frontiers game. It was the one that, okay. For some reason, I had heard, once again, not something that I wanted to dive too deeply into. You may recall, it wasn't a topic that I discussed. Because I didn't know the inner workings of all that. But no, Ernie Gygax did not look good with his association with that. So, all right. Anyway. So the answer to the question, can Luke Gygax and Greyhawk save Dungeons and Dragons, is a tricky one. Because as far as Hasbro looks at it, Dungeons and Dragons doesn't need saving. Dungeons and Dragons needs to bring in more profit. That's the big deal. That's all they care about. Just like every other corporation out there. It's all about the profit and reporting to their shareholders. I've said it before. I will say it again. And I have no beef with Hasbro. I have no beef with Wizards of the Coast. I don't really have beefs with anyone in the hobby. If Hasbro could get away with toys that had swastikas on them, and it made them an additional 5% on each of those sales. Not overall. I'm just talking about on the sale of the item. They do it because it's all about profit. And that's how this world works now. We do live in a dystopian cyberpunk world. Maybe you haven't realized it yet because we don't have like all this cyberware that we can choose from, but we're getting there. So, Captain Stefan says, hi, Jeff. Well, I would have liked to get my hands on a new Star Frontiers game, but never saw the books. But wow, racism is not okay. Yeah, it was, once again, I didn't see it. I heard about it. I heard some issues with the top secret that they had released. Maybe it was just that people said it was crap. And I remember the whole TSR logo thing was sort of like, okay, so who's really got the rights to TSR? Because I thought the copyright had expired and nobody renewed the copyright. If you'd ever like to learn more about that, may I recommend finding out about the history of It's a Wonderful Life. Very, very interesting. Tim Johnson says, we are in a cyberpunktopia, but we never got the cool cars, just Teslas. Kevin R. Smith says, their complaint is D&D has incredible brand recognition numbers, but doesn't make a gazillion dollars. Right. Well, another thing we talk about on this channel is that as much as we love the hobby, I would assume the vast majority of you who are watching this, both live and after the fact on Memorex, really enjoy this hobby, because otherwise you'd be tuning into some other rage bait video. We do have to realize that this is a very niche hobby. And even though you see things like, oh, on TED, they just played D&D. I haven't watched that episode yet, but I did catch a little clip of it. Looks pretty funny. And Stranger Things, Dungeons and Dragons, had a through line throughout the entire series. And in fact, I haven't watched the last season. I probably won't, to be honest, because I heard from a lot of people whose opinions I respect that it was awful. So I figured, I'll just leave it where it ended. I'm fine with that. But I had also heard that it kind of plays a bigger role in the final season. I don't know. Maybe not. But just because when you mention Dungeons and Dragons, people know what it is, doesn't necessarily mean that everybody wants to play, or the people who know what it is actually understand what it is. Because there are a lot of folks out there where Dungeons and Dragons still has a negative impact on them when somebody mentions it, right? So Captain Stefan asks, do you guys play Dungeon Crawl Classics? Yeah, we talk about DCC all the time. I have reviewed quite a few of their releases, including the core book. It's good stuff. Good stuff. Kevin R. Smith says, It's a Wonderful Life was actually a copyright issue. TSR was a trademark issue, which has different rules. Yeah, well, I was just talking copyright. But yes, it is a pretty interesting story. It's like, man, if I had, what was it, like $7, $8 at the time? Max Apocalypse says, it's like how everyone knows who Superman is, but very few people actually buy the new comics. Or the reality, a lot of people know Superman. They may not even know who Superman's alter ego is. So, Chris Lundgren says, they're just excited that Wizards of the Coast is going back to Greyhawk. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and the book might be pretty good. I mean, there is talk that it's not just going to be a single book, that we might actually see an adventure collection for it. I don't know. But the point I wanted to make was, number one, I don't think Luke Gygax, and I look forward to seeing what he does. Maybe, we luck out, get a review copy. I don't know. But I'm interested. I'm not shit talking about it. All I'm trying to point out is that the people out there are thinking that this means major changes for Dungeons and Dragons are incorrect. That's all. But yeah, I'm not, hopefully no one has taken anything that I've said as derogatory towards Luke Gygax. Not at all. Like I said, talked to him for about 10 minutes. Over the course of a couple of conventions, he's been super nice. So yeah, so good for him. All right, so Savage Splendors popped on in. It's going to be at least 3 books over the next few years, according to some of the writers on it. Well, that's cool. Char says they were at Gary Con this past year. Yeah, I'm kicking myself for not going, but with the damage to the roof and my dad and Stephen Glicker was like, oh, I can give you a badge for a day, but he wasn't sure what day. That was like, week and a half out. I was like, dude, don't worry about it. It's okay. Which actually was a good thing because the roof damage was after that. So we just finally had the roofer come out and put the tarp up there on Sunday. So So Char says they were at GaryCon. They joined in on an impromptu 1E Living Greyhawk game. Had an absolute blast. To me, that feeling while playing was the real Greyhawk. Daryl says, as long as they don't change the source material, it can't be bad. I'm sure we'll have people complain. Because, as we've discussed this evening and for a few years now, there are some folks out there, that's all they want to do. Because that's how they get joy. Maybe they just relieve some of the darkness in their hearts. I don't know. Josh says it would have been cool to say hi in person. Well, I'm sure. Oh, you mean to me? I was going to say, I'm sure Luke was floating around. He always is. Yes. You know, it was funny. The first time I went up to, it was GaryCon. I like to get there. I like to get to conventions. If I'm going to be there 4 days, I like to get in the day before. So like Gen Con, I pop in on Wednesday. I get there on Wednesday because number one, if I'm bringing stuff for the auction, I like to get it into the auction on Wednesday. So that way I know it's going to end up going up for auction. But a lot of times Elliot wasn't able to get down there until like Friday. It's usually Elliot who goes to Gen Con with me, although I have flown solo a few times. And it would never fail. Like the first time I went to GaryCon, every time Elliot went to the bathroom or went outside to vape or whatever, somebody would come up and talk to me. It was like, yeah, of course. You're like, yeah. But then there have been times like lately, it's like even when I went to Gamehole Con with my nephew Cameron was really impressed by the number of people who were coming up and saying hi. I was like, yeah. But Elliot's been around at some cons where it's like, wow, man, all these people coming up. And it's funny too, because I love Elliot. He's my absolute best friend in the whole world. He's like a brother to me, probably closer than a brother to me. And everybody thinks he's like a very social person. He's not. It really does take a lot out of him when he goes to conventions and stuff, and talking to all, different people and that. I mean, he pulls it off. Don't get me wrong, but I know it takes a lot out of him because he's quieter than, he's more inverted than I am. But yeah, there's been some times where it's like, do you think maybe we could walk over to the, wherever, like Dick's Last Resort without having somebody stop you and then you got to talk to him for 10 minutes? I'm like, okay, we'll try. Okay, so let's get ready to wrap up. Let's take a peek here. So, Savage Splendor says book one also takes place pre-war era with a young elf Melf. Is that like Ralph Melf's brother? Jubal Rawls says people will always complain. You can't please everyone. See, and that's one of the issues I have with Dungeons and Dragons is that a lot of times it's like, wow, why don't you just pick a lane and stay in and try to stay in that lane? Why sit there and, like, for me, right? No, I don't expect Wizards of the Coast to try to appeal to me. I really don't. Because Wizards of the Coast knows if they have a 25-year-old player, well, if they get their hooks into them, they're looking at probably 30 years of them being a customer. Me, they're not getting 30 years out of me. No. But yeah, that's why I think the games that we talk about most, like Dungeon Crawl Classics, Old School Essentials, Call of Cthulhu, RuneQuest, Traveler, Cyberpunk Red. I mean, I'm forgetting like 50 others, right? They know what they are. And they try to stick to what they are. Now, do they try to appeal to other people and bring them into the hobby? Of course they do. But they're not trying to be all things to all people. Sometimes I think Wizards of the Coast does a little too much of that with Dungeons and Dragons. So they're talking about the original Greyhawk map. Wasn't that drawn by Darlene? I got to meet her at Page. She was very nice. Sadly, there was a screw up with the interview schedule. And it was like, I was going to interview her, but then I guess she hadn't confirmed it. So I set up somebody else and they came and then she showed up late. And I was like, oops. Laconic Lane says, hopefully you'll have the Northlands book soon from Cobalt Press. I got a Cobalt Press news piece for tomorrow. It doesn't have to do with Northlands, but I will be sharing that. Yeah, another one. Cobalt Press knows who they are, right? That's why most Cobalt Press adventures and that have a bit of an old school vibe to them. I'm not talking like old school essentials, but it's less 5e-ish. Like, you look at a 5e adventure, it's a 5e adventure. If you read through it, you're like, yeah, that's a Dungeons and Dragons adventure, a 5e adventure, 5.5. Anyway, Sue. Didn't Ralph Mal's brother die in combat overseas? Asks Rex Young. Welcome aboard. I don't know. I do not know. I have no idea. Delaney Alyssa says, D&D got about 28 years out of me. Started in 79. Left when Pathfinder 1 came out, which was about 2007 or so. They didn't get anywhere near that out of me. They got from about 78 to 81. And that was about it. W Ford says, yeah, they think the map was Darlene. Yep. Kevin R. Smith says, yep, everybody calls it the Darlene map. All righty. Charles says they met Darlene and Jeff Easley at GaryCon. Got a print from both and had them sign it. Made them happy. Very cool. All right. Shazama85 says, I have the first 100 or so dungeon magazines. You can see the change over time. Yeah, it went from being a gaming magazine with a focus on Dungeons and Dragons to a house organ. So I have the disc, which I have copied to a couple of hard drives that have all the issues of Dragon and Dungeon magazines that came out, years ago. So yes, I had them. Every once in a while, I kind of think, hey, you know what? Yeah, maybe I should do a thing where I read one issue of Dragon every night. And I'm like, meh. It's like, because I got plenty of review stuff to read. So. All right. So Smoking Pots says they didn't lose them until 4th edition. DB says maybe not even 81, maybe 80 for them. Tabletop Scholars with us again tonight. Welcome back. Good to see you. DB says they came back for Dark Sun. Yeah, I was already gone when all those. That's why I have when they're like, oh, we got an Eberron book coming out. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. Like, oh, hey, Ravenloft. Here comes Castle Ravenloft again. And I'm like, I always heard good things about it. Yeah, I'm kind of curious, but it wasn't like, oh boy. Nope. Chris Lundgren's talking Osric again. They pay Chris to try to name drop Osric on every live stream that he can attend. Said, Osric 3.0 has inspired them more than any fantasy role-playing game in a while. They got the physical copy yesterday. And I think you can still get the player book and the like Game Master guide. It's either free or pay what you want. So yeah, it says yes, they do. Tim Johnson said they stuck with 3.5. See, we're gonna wrap up. This is my final thought for this evening. And because we're gonna hit 2 hours on the episode. So one of the reasons why I don't understand, in fact, you know what? Maybe tomorrow night, the topic will be like, why don't you leave the hobby already? And maybe I'll try to find like a stock photo of somebody looking all pissed off. Anyway, the thing I don't understand. Well, okay, I take that back. I do understand. We'll get into more detail about it tomorrow because yes, I think that will be our topic. But for folks out there, wouldn't you think for yourself? Let's say you were going to be a content creator and you were a gamer. You played role-playing games. Maybe you're a game master. Wouldn't you prefer the good feeling you get by sharing your love of a game, the game that you are playing? Like a lot of people out there talking about Osric, talking about AD&D 3.5, things like that, right? It's like, hey, I've been sticking with 3.5 for years, having a great time. Wouldn't you probably rather do that than just sit there and spew bullshit about a game that you don't care about? Because if you're sitting there playing AD&D and have been for decades, you don't give a shit what Wizards of the Coast does. Wizards of the Coast could burn Dungeons and Dragons down to the ground. Doesn't matter to you. You're enjoying what you enjoy. That's what I don't understand. I mean, I understand the financial aspect of the hatred. I wouldn't be able to do that. Mentally, it would get to me. And I prefer to feel good about doing the Gaming Gang, Dispatch, running the website, sharing review videos, as opposed to, talking shit about people I don't know and denigrating other people's work. Yeah, I don't know. Chris Leonard says, that's a great topic. What's your favorite role-playing games and why? Awesome topic. We can probably tackle that at some point. I'll tell you what, I'll let people right now in chat decide. Would you rather have what makes your favorite role-playing game and why? Or what makes a role-playing game your favorite and why? Kind of like around that, sort of. Or why don't you get out of the hobby already? Little Britain's been hanging with us. Welcome back. Said, I've played every version except 0. I had the little white box. Wish I still had it. I always kind of kick around. Should I try it? And I'm like, no, don't do it. I'm talking about for tomorrow's show, Chris. Chris says, why not both? No, I'm talking about for tomorrow's show. Rex Young says, no one can ever take D&D away from us, regardless of which edition we latch onto. So Little Britain said they played everything but OD&D and 5.5. They don't hate any of them. In fact, I still play every version except 4. That's only because no one's interested in 4. Yeah, I get it. Like MMORPGs aren't like really a thing anymore. And I know there are still people who play them. I get it, but it's not like, oh, you're playing World of Warcraft, man. You gotta play it. All right. So Danny Gable says, favorite RPG. Jill here says, I hit that white box, hated it. Well, I guess it really depends on when you got it, you know? So, I mean, if you got it and you already had AD&D stuff, yes, I could see where you'd be like, Delaney Alyssa says, why don't you get out of the hobby already? Love it. Okay, but you got to keep in mind, if I do that as a topic, I'm not going to like pick on like individuals, you know? It's just, it's not my thing. It's like today, I told you about somebody sent me a link to a video. I was like, what the hell? I didn't tell you who it was. I'm not here to shit talk about people. I'm not. I just know that outlet's not for me. Right? So there you go. Alrighty. So that is it for this time out. If you're watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chat, you get a tip of the cap. Because not only are you keeping me company, you're also keeping each other company while I'm doing the news, while I'm pondering a topic, and so forth. But, of course, I know a lot of folks out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you for taking time out to watch any of the videos here on the Gaming Gang channel. Also, a reminder, I am giving away a PDF copy of Old School Essentials Quick Delve number 3 against the Horse Lord. You must leave a comment on this video. Hopefully you give a like to the video and be a subscriber. I will reveal the winner on tomorrow night's show. And hopefully I'll have another giveaway tomorrow night. So stay tuned for that. Everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit gaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are never going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. If you like the video, give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell. There we go. I was like, God, what the hell? Wonder Power activate. Let's go. If you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell and be sure to select all notifications, because that way you'll be informed not only when the Dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. It'll also let you know when I share other videos, such as my recent review of the Dolmenwood adventure, The Ruins of St. Cloud's Abbey, right? Isn't that it? The Ruined Abbey of St. Cloud. Okay. Forgot the title. Will not forget the adventure because it's damn good. All right, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is, your neck of the woods. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. And until I see you next time, certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.